Hello and welcome to the program. The current contract between Ukraine's Naftogaz and Russia's Gazprom expires at the end of this year. Now Ukraine enters a critical period to secure its transit to Europe, seeking a new deal with Russia. Now the EU and Ukraine want Gazprom to continue shipping most of its gas for Europe via Ukraine. Gazprom, however, is still building Nord Stream 2 pipeline precisely for the purpose of reducing its reliance on Ukraine as a transit partner. To discuss this and other critical issues for Ukraine's energy security, we're joined in the studio today by Nataliya Katser-Buchkovska. She's energy expert of the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Hello, and thank you for joining us. So, first question, in your article called Winter is Coming, Top 10 Critical Issues for Ukraine's Energy Security, you've said that the upcoming winter will be a test for the new government. Could you expand on that?
So every winter is a test for a government because energy is quite critical, and it's not also only heat and physical gas in houses of our households, but it's also security. It's a base of economy, and it's like a part of big geopolitical agenda. So first of all, new Minister of Energy and new Prime Minister, they already face these difficult challenges I mentioned in my article. So first of all is the end of the transit contract. So at the end of the transit contract means that Ukraine can lose the biggest income from transit Russian gas to Europe. And it's not only the issue of money or the issue of physical functioning on gas transportation system, it's also issue of security of Ukraine. So it's quite critical, and it's the most important thing which they need to deal with, and I hope they will succeed. I will support their negotiation, and we should keep fingers crossed for the negotiating team, as it's depends the success of our country and our physical security. So first of all, why this is difficult? Because Russians, they do not want to sign the long-term contract, and Ukraine, we are interested to have long-term contract, and the critical issue is volume. So Russians, they negotiate the lowest possible volume of transit and short-term contract. For Ukraine, it's not profitable, and it's not economically viable to transit less than 60 billion cubic meter per year. So therefore, the negotiation is difficult, and they will be not easy in future. So this issue, first of all, should be the key topic and the first most important task for government, and it was not mentioned in governmental program. So why I actually wrote this article? Because I looked through the program of new government, and I haven't seen this critical issue I mentioned in my article. So I worked before 5 years in Parliament. I was Member of Parliament. I was part of all reforms, gas market reform, electricity market reform, and I know this market very well. So therefore, I actually focus the attention on this issue, which are critical and which should be resolved by a new government.
Now, experts' calculations confirm, as you said, that Ukraine would remain highly dependent on gas imports for the next year. What should be the position of Ukraine in order to make it the most profitable here?
Well, the second issue, apart from transit, I think is to increase Ukrainian production, the volume that Ukraine produce gas, and we made a very important step towards the Ukrainian energy independence. So, previous parliament, and I was part of this process, we enacted very profitable royalty rent for gas producers, so allow to make Ukraine competitive and to put Ukraine on the map for world gas producers. This is the first. And second, we conduct 5 tenders PCA agreements. So we attract companies from US, from Canada. So we also attract Ukrainian major gas producers to invest into Ukrainian gas production. And if this government will sign these contracts, which was as a result of this competition, so Ukraine in 5-year term can receive 1.5 billion investment into gas production, and we can be in long-term perspective, we can be energy self-sufficient. So we can produce as much gas as we need for our consumption. So it's like miracle of Ukrainian gas, of Ukrainian production, which which is everyone claim. So this also maybe the second important issue, to sign this contract with investors, which who already came and they wish to invest into Ukrainian gas production. And also the part of this task is to announce new competition, new tenders to Black Sea gas deposits. It's not only economic gas production, but also strategic geopolitical issue, as it could also make Ukraine, not only net gas, it could energy self-sufficient.
Now, how do you explain that certain countries, i.e. Germany, I'd say count more on Russia, let's say, or are having like contracts with Gazprom, for example, to become a major player in the EU than in Ukraine, and how to attract investors, how to switch the attention, let's say, from Gazprom to actually Naftogaz?
We should propose something. I always say that the interests of countries, they are economical driven rather than ideological or somehow. Every country has its economical aim, and they actually look on and try to defend their own interests. So we should think how to make our interests, how to make opportunities for these countries to be a part of somehow Ukrainian economical processes. So I suppose there should be, first of all, investment into gas production in Ukraine, and we should be open for any investors from German, from US, so create competitive market, open competitive market, and they could be potentially interested. So as a result, they will not only invest into our economy, create jobs, produce gas, but they also will be interested to defend our interests because of their investment. And second thing, I suppose this is not only gas production, but a gas transition. So we also should think how to attract, for instance, partners to operate gas transportation system, transition system, because it would help us to contract as much gas as we need to make it economical viable, to negotiate with Gazprom, because it's not easy task to negotiate with Gazprom. They have different interests than we are. So I suppose a strong company, EU company, US company, transit company, who could be potentially partner of our gas transmission system, they could be very good a good partner to defend our economical interest and security as well.
Now, that's where maybe there's kind of an unbalanced game here, because Gazprom is directly state-owned by Russia, it's directly, let's say, the gas arm of Russia, as big companies in democracies such as Germany or France or even the UK don't really have to answer to the interest of the states. Isn't there like a bit of a lack of balance here between those two ways of seeing business?
I suppose we should look it from our perspective. What is our interests? And we should create opportunities and propose something to these countries to make them our partners and our allies rather than they will make deal with Russia. So we should propose something and negotiate. First of all, so I believe in economic as a also diplomatic tool to attract and to create some coalition, some investors to create some coalition, and it's the way how it works in the world. So if country invest a lot in other countries, they will defend their interests because every country defend its own investors and their money. So we should create here the good opportunity and allow strong companies, strong allies to come and to be part of our agenda. It haven't been happened before, so it's actually a big problem. But now there is opportunities. First of all, we show it as during this competition when we attract investment to gas production, so companies can compete for good gas production field, and already they are ready to invest in our economy. So we also should, to defend our interests, we should look on trends, worldwide trends. And now we see that, for instance, LNG, which came from US, Middle East, LNG change actually the structure of gas market. And if people feel now in Ukraine that the price for gas decreased, it's because of LNG influence. So this is a cheaper gas, and
it's easier to transport also because
easier to transport. So companies and countries they are not dependent on geography, on pipes. So it's more flexible. And now I see that the market has been changing, and there is more and more LNG in European market, on European market. So, for instance, our people, they experience that recently gas price has been down by 28%, for instance, comparing to May, and it's because of LNG. And Ukraine should unlock our LNG potential. So we are not part of these processes, sadly, because first of all, no one thinks strategically and think how to attract LNG to Ukrainian market, how to make it possible, what is the way, what would be the price, who will transport this gas. I suppose this could be also very good a good direction how government should think to create here infrastructure for LNG development. For instance, states should support infrastructure, conduct geopolitical negotiation with US, with Turkey, with Middle East country, to create this interest. And then a private company will come and will invest and trade LNG in Ukraine, and it would be one more source of diversification. It would be cheaper gas, it will create a necessary volume to maintain our gas transportation system, etc.
Well, thank you very much for this overview. That's all the time we have for today about this really complicated and long topic. But it was a pleasure to have you in the studio today to talk about the gas issues in Ukraine. That was Nataliya Katser-Buchkovska. She's an energy expert of the Ukrainian Institute for the Future. Thank you for watching the program, and stay tuned for the rest.